Well, hello everyone. My name is Leslie Solomon. Oh, did you want to say anything? Yeah, say a little bit. Yes. Sorry.
Leslie is one of our adjunct instructors here at Wake Tech, and we are happy to have her. She is an entrepreneur. You have your own company, Creative Grow, and you're a native of Mississippi. So it's always interesting to find out how people make their way to the Triangle. You know, it's sort of a nice little hotbed of creative energy. But I'm going to let you tell everybody about yourself and your company.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So as she said, I have a company. It's actually Grow Creative, but similar. And I grew up in Mississippi. That's where I spent my time until 2005. I'll start just to give you a little background about, I have degrees in advertising and in graphic communications. Since I was 20, pretty much I knew that I wanted to go into advertising. I was super enthralled with the whole concept. I actually watched that movie, What Women Want. Have you seen that, anybody? I don't know. I know that's really cheesy, but I actually sort of got into this field because of the Nike ad on What Women Want. So if you get a chance to watch it, it's a really good one. So in hindsight, that's pretty crazy. I went to college and spent all that money just because of a movie, but there it is. So, but I'm glad I did. It's my passion is advertising and graphic communications, graphic design. That's what I really enjoy. And I feel lucky that, I found it and get to do that. So I wasn't really sure which area of advertising that I wanted to be in. So, you go through the program, and there's the research piece and the budgeting piece. There's lots of different pieces of like the marketing and advertising in that space. So right out of college, I went to work for a small agency in Meridian, Mississippi, where I grew up. There were 10 people that worked there. They actually did have a number of national clients. It was focused on the equine horse industry. So quickly I figured out that you never know where advertising is coming from. It might just be from a tiny little town in comparative. In Mississippi it's actually a pretty big one, but compared to Raleigh it's pretty small. We did all of the national advertising for Sundowner Horse Trailers, which is a national, very popular horse trailer brand. We did the advertising for the top breeding horse. I can't think of the word right now, of course, I'm sorry. One of basically the top breeder was a horse worth $500,000. Basically, people would pay money to breed their horses to have like a very talented, hopefully, horse with good genes. So anyway, we worked with some really large clients, which was really interesting. But the point of me telling you this is as soon as I got into an agency environment, I realized that I wanted to do what the designers were doing. So I, at that point, enrolled into a graphics program and added on my graphics degree on top of the advertising piece, so I got those too. When I first started at Brainstorm, which was the name of the agency, I was actually the database coordinator. So we had, one of our clients was Cargill Nutrena Horse Feed, which I'm sure you guys have heard of Cargill. Another good example of, it's like, who knew? But anyway, this was 2005. So my job was actually to manage client databases, which is like really pretty boring in terms of the world of advertising. So at all of the different stores where they sold this horse feed, they basically said, here, enter this drawing, write down your name and email address, and we'll email you information. Then they stacked those up, put them in an envelope, send them to our company, and I got to enter them all in one by one to build their client database. So that was my glamorous job right out of college. Nowadays, they don't do things necessarily quite as, they're collecting leads online. You're collecting leads in a lot of different ways other than asking people to fill out a piece of paper. So essentially, that's what I did when I started. I soon, learning the graphics programs, I got into actually doing graphic design work. My first piece of graphics work that I got to do was some artwork for a promotional product, which you may all have, you may be familiar with this or maybe not, but so every time you receive a promotional product, you see there's a little piece of artwork, a logo on it, potentially with a phone number and an email address or a URL. So my first graphic job or assignment was to create a little piece of promotional product artwork in Illustrator, which was then sent to the notepad company, probably Post-it. I think it was Post-it. That was the brand. They also have like a promotional division. And they put that artwork onto the notepads, and then they sent 3,000 of them to our company, which went to a local business. And I thought, wow, that's so cool. My art is on a physical piece of, on a piece of, a promotional product that 3,000 people will get. So, it kind of started to click, which maybe, you guys might have already sort of processed that, but it's pretty interesting to kind of see how it unfolds, what I found anyway, in terms of where your work will be. So, the more I got into graphics and I saw, a logo I created, for example, is on a billboard next to the interstate whenever we go home, and I'm like, oh, I made that logo, or, for a local garage door company, or, so, and that's a smaller area. I mean, because Raleigh is such a great location in terms of there's so much opportunity here. You don't know, you might end up creating a logo for a technology company like Red Hat that's just getting started, and then all of a sudden 10 years later it's like, wow, I did that, so you never know where it will take you, which is really cool, I think. So just to give you a little bit more background, so after I worked at Brainstorm, we ended up deciding to move here so my husband could finish college. He wanted to go to NC State with his degree, and I just wanted the experience of traveling and living somewhere other than, you grow up in Mississippi and you think it's like this super tiny little place that nobody knows of, and then you leave and you realize everyone's like, oh yeah, I love that Mississippi, I've been here, and so a lot of people actually do know where it is. But when you're little and you're young, you think that it feels small, but just because you know everybody. But it turns out that's not the case. But everyone's connected by 6 degrees of separation, right? Anyway, so so we got here, and I worked at first thing I did as soon as we got here is worked as a marketing coordinator at a real estate company. That was a good experience. I worked at a software company doing some sales. Took a little bit of a detour off of took a little bit of a detour into sort of the sales marketing arena and away from the graphic design piece of the advertising, and then weaved back into it when I worked at another company a couple of years ago. I started there and I worked there through September of last year, and it was a medical association, and I managed their exhibit program, which was really neat. I got to travel around to a number of different locations nationally, and then one international location, which was really cool, managing their exhibit program. And then I also did graphic design work for them, and so I had the opportunity to sort of get really back into that, which is my favorite thing, which is the art piece of advertising. So from there, I decided I started my business in 2011, but I didn't really actually do anything with it until September of 2014. So it's like, these things sort of grow and mold, and the time was right for me to officially start it in October of last year. So that's what I do now, and then I also teach here. I call myself a design consultant. I've heard a lot of different, seen different blogs, and people talk about the fact that freelance versus being a consultant, there's sort of different connotations that go with that. So I haven't 100% decided if I'm a consultant or a freelancer, but either way, I do graphic design work for companies on an individual basis that need work. So I work with small businesses, and then I also do some work for the foundation of the company that I worked for through September of last year. So just to give you a little background on my college experience through today. In terms of things that I would like to share that I think that it might be something that if I were to say what would be a really good piece of information for me to know, what would have been a good piece of information for me to know 8 years ago before I started. So I'll try to talk about some of those pieces. So one would be ways that you might use your skills. So it isn't always the case, but there's a good chance you might work at an ad agency. You might work as a part of a marketing department at a small to multi-location company or corporation. You might work for a publication or a newspaper. They have to have people that set the publications up, someone that there's many different layers to the process of creating a publication and a newspaper, so there's that. You might work for a promotional product company, so someone has to create all of that artwork for promotional product companies, both the distributors and then also the actual suppliers. I think they actually have to have artists on their end too to help to facilitate that process. So, those are just a couple of different places that you may find yourself within the next few years. In terms of starting my own business, I'll talk a little bit about that. Has anyone in here started a business before? Okay. So, interestingly enough, it's actually not as hard to start your own business as what I thought it would be. So, there's a few main steps in terms of getting your specific tax ID numbers, paperwork that you have to do. I think there's like a $25 fee to register your name. But after that, depending on what you're selling or what your service is, that's pretty much it. So, I did everything that they asked, and then I said, so now what? And they're like, well, that's it. Go ahead, you're a business now. And I thought, awesome, yay. So America's pretty cool in that sense, I guess. That, if you want to start your own business, really, these days you have to have a website, which there's a lot of different tools out there, like Wix, Weebly, if you can't build your own, which you may or may not be able to do yet. So, and then the drive to do it, and that's really what you need. So, obviously there's a lot of other pieces to it, and before you kind of jump out, I think it's really good to get some experience before, and it's relative, I'm sure there's some people that have 20 years of experience before they start their business, and some people that work for a year and a half and they're like, all right, I'm gone, I'm going to go do my own thing because that's a better fit for me. So it's really just all about you providing a service and then finding people that their needs match what your service provides. So that's really the key. In terms of, I talked a little bit to Carla about things that you guys have been doing in this class that I could maybe talk a little bit about that might be helpful in terms of, she said you guys were doing some budgeting. So that's in my job in terms of owning your own business, that is something that you have to think about. But also, that's really a piece that sort of has weaved throughout all the different jobs that I've had, because for every project you're going to have a specific budget. So at first you'll probably always have to get quotes for things, but as you become more familiar with the different media and the different ways that you'll actually be presenting your designs, you'll get an idea for how much is a web banner ad typically on a site this size, or how much would a billboard be for this, or how much is it going to cost to get 300 flyers 8.5 by 11 front and back printed. Most of my work has been in the print area. I'm working, obviously a lot of things are going to web. Print, thank goodness, still has a really strong footprint, because I think print is sort of a classic piece that should always be a part of our lives. I think it's, but you'll find that a lot of your skills in terms of creating an ad in InDesign, you can actually export that as a JPEG, and then that's a web banner ad. So you're going to find a lot of your skills can be transferred, your print design skills can be transferred into the web arena. You guys probably know that already. So, which is really great, because 10 years ago it was semi-common for college programs to incorporate the web piece. So that's pretty awesome that Wake Tech is doing that, and then a lot of colleges are. But in terms of budgeting, so pretty much every project is going to have a budget. Hopefully you have a big one. That will not always be the case, which means you would have to, focus on social media and other methods to get your information out to your customers. Social media, email, things like that. And then also just finding good places to place information where it maybe doesn't cost very much, but you actually are able to reach a lot of people. So, and you'll figure that out as you go along too. Did anybody have any questions for me at this point just about any of this? And I was going to open my website up and show you a little bit of my work, but I guess I could do questions at the end. I'll do that. I'm sorry. That's okay. So here's my website. Grow Creative. So this just at the bottom here, I have some brand experience. This is a social media feed, obviously. And so this just shows a little bit, it's kind of the intro page to my website. And then I have my portfolio page here. So, and I'm assuming, so has everyone had InDesign, Illustrator, Photoshop? So you guys, okay, so these are some good examples. This one was InDesign, but so this is an ad I did for an event that's coming up. This was a half-page magazine ad for a medical, the ASC Foundation, which is a it's the American Society of Echocardiography. So that's the other piece that you're going to find is you can work with associations, you can work with for-profit businesses, you can work with nonprofit businesses, you can design for, I have an embroiderer that actually, in a t-shirt printer, and so I've done some t-shirt designs and some embroidery designs for her. I have a ceramics company that needed a logo redo. So it's not up here, but that's one that I recently did. So you'll sort of find yourself, if you do have your own business, sort of working with a variety of different types of clients, which I think makes it fun. And they'll have a variety of different needs. Again, the focus of what I've done so far has been on like the print and design side. I'm actually working towards trying to get more into like doing social media management for people. Also, I recently became a Constant Contact, not distributor, but a solutions provider. So that way, if you just develop a relationship with Constant Contact, and then that way, if you can help your clients with their Constant Contact accounts, help them build and send out their emails and different things like that, which is a big piece of marketing. But also, you can get credit from Constant Contact for signing up people to Constant Contact. So there's lots of different interesting partnerships and different things that you can do when you have your own business. So here's a poster that I did a couple of years ago. This was for a STEAM festival and a railroad fest. And I'll kind of just quickly go through some of these. This is for an insurance, 2012. This is actually a horse insurance company. They did a Happy Holidays Christmas ad in one of their horse magazines. And interestingly enough, one of our friends who we met when we moved back to Raleigh, lived in our same apartment building. He works for a company called QBE. He recently moved to Dallas, and so we were just talking, and I said, so QBE, is this their logo? And so I opened up my website, and then we went to this ad. So down at the bottom left, you see QBE, and he was like, yeah, that's the company that I work for, which, they have locations in Europe and all over. I think they're based out of Australia. So another interesting example of how you'll find that things that you do are sort of, everything's connected. So which I think is really cool about advertising. You're not in your own little bubble. You're going to sort of learn about a lot of different things and a lot of different companies and businesses. And in marketing in general, you actually learn a lot about a lot of different things because you have to become semi-specialized in whatever it is that you're selling, right? So, which I actually really like. So, for example, working for ASE, I know a lot about echocardiography now. So, the American Society of Echocardiography, which is, I don't know if anyone has ever had an echo. It's like ultrasound of the heart. So, you work on a marketing team of doing something like that, and you can learn a lot about different products. I know a lot about the horse industry now, which never thought that would have happened, but there you go. So, which I think is really fun. One thing that I think would probably be, I'm not personally doing this, but I think that if you're thinking about where do I want to take my career, I think there's probably a lot of value in maybe picking, like if you really like medicine, or you really like the accounting industry, or if you have a specific area that you like in addition to graphics and marketing, if you really focus in that one area and then grow your career within it, I think that you could probably go up faster, potentially, if that's what you're interested in. I like to kind of have the flexibility of having my own business and the experience of getting to teach, which is really awesome. But if you're kind of trying to figure out where you want to take your career, I think that's an interesting way to go. And I don't know how often people do that. I really haven't, if you Google it, I'm sure you can find different people that have talked about that. So that's just a little piece that I think that's good to keep in mind. To go back to this, so we have some logos I put together, signage, letterhead. So these are just different examples of, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with, different ways that, different advertising materials that you may create, through your work and through your process of working wherever it is that you maybe work currently or will work right out of school. This was a development company. Created a logo and a business card for them. This was a career expo. I put together some this concept, Opportunity Delivered, and then did a banner, signage, and also T-shirts for their career expo. That was for a university, UWA. This was another horse ranch, so they do a Christmas ad every year. I think this was for 2012 as well, and also a card. Slate River Ranch. This was a promotional piece for the actual company that I worked for. I created that in Illustrator, and 2012 was the year of the dragon, so that's why obviously we have the dragon there. So this is an example of a promotional product that if somebody needs calendars with art, you might be creating a piece of art for a calendar. Let's see. So this is some hotel advertising. Just these are both ads here. And another one. I created that little icon there. So Meridian, where I grew up, they just recently restored the old opera house there, and so now it's a location where a lot of, I think Martina McBride was there last month, and so a lot of different musical acts are coming through. It's not like Coldplay. It's like Martina McBride, or it's like people that have been around. I don't think that let me think of a good one. Well, I can't think of one, but yeah. So it's music that's been around for a while, but it's still, it's a drawing piece for a lot of people that are in the area. So I came up with this as just a way to represent our city, and a way to attract people to come to Meridian, to stay in the Hilton Garden Inn and go to the Opera House to see a show. So that was a fun project, that piece. I created an Illustrator. It was a character for a restaurant. This is a DVD cover. Again, another horse-themed piece. These are videos that people actually buy to learn how to ride. And then here's some t-shirts that I created. One for a race. This is actually from a few years ago, but I've always really liked the colors and that design, so I included it. This was for a football game, and then this was another race, I think. Okay, so those are just a few examples of my work that I have on my website here. Used Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, all of those different programs to create these different pieces. Some are for direct clients, and then others were by way of Brainstorm Creative Group that I worked on a freelance basis for, and they're actually an ad agency that I worked for right out of school, and I still do work for them periodically. So I've just kind of maintained that relationship for like the last 10 years, which is pretty awesome. They're, the owner there, she pretty much was my mentor, so she really taught me a lot about the advertising and everything. She was in advertising when they used to actually, before computers. I don't know if you guys know anything about that process, but you would actually put the ad up together on a pasteboard and then take a picture of it onto a film. I was reading about this process last night just because I was curious. So whenever she created a PDF, she said camera ready PDF, which basically, because she started before there were computers. So if it was camera ready, that meant it was time to take a picture of it so it could go to print, interestingly enough. So this is just go back to this for a second. This is just my little, it's a bio page, and then this place where people can send me an email, my contact information. And that's really the nuts and bolts of my background and what I'm doing now, and hopefully some information that you can take with you as you go through the process of kind of figuring out your own way and your path. So now we'll take questions. Yes?
I was wondering, did you make your website yourself, and what did you make it on?
Actually, I made it using Wix. I'm going to tell you guys that and the camera that. I did not make it from scratch. I am going through the process of learning how to do that myself because that was not actually taught to me when I was in school. So, and that's just how it is, pretty much. So, has anyone ever been to the Wix site? Okay, go to Wix, go to Weebly. It's super, it's really amazing what you can do with a pre-built website builders. And they're not plug and play. There's so many different ways that you can like mold the pre-built templates that they have that you can make it your own, so they don't all look the same. One thing that I think would be, I'm still sort of debating if I want to try to learn WordPress and then build the sites on WordPress for clients, like smaller businesses that want a website that they can actually go in and edit on their own. This is a great solution for them because it's a website builder that's online that they actually could go in and maybe change a picture or, and that might be thinking that people, I think there's a lot of really great things that you can do with these website builders, and I think small businesses are probably finding them really helpful. I'm using it right now until I learn how to build my own site on WordPress, and I know how to manage sites on WordPress, but the actual process of building one, I don't think it's that hard, but I just haven't done it yet myself. So, has anyone built a WordPress site yet? But there you go. See, so yeah, we'll get there. But so that's kind of something that's on my to-do list. And what was the other part of your question, though? So you said, okay.
It looks good.
Thank you. And to repeat the question, she asked what website, if I built the website myself, and if not, what website builder I use. So that was the question there. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any advice for building clientele?
Networking. Yeah. So.
How is your networking been?
It's actually decent. I think the more you put in, the more you get out. So another item on the to-do list, based on just time and managing everything that I have sort of going on, is joining the chambers. So that's one of the things I want to. I'm not currently a member, but I I'm going to become a member of the Raleigh Chamber of Commerce, Fuquay-Varina Chamber of Commerce, Holly Springs Chamber of Commerce. You want to try to join as many chambers as you can. There are annual fees, so you kind of have to set aside a little bit of your own marketing budget to do that. But they have breakfast, they have after hours, they have events, many of which that you can actually attend as a non-member. So if you don't actually want to join the chamber and put in that investment, you can just go to the events that you're allowed to. That's a great way to, people naturally are nice, nicer, and they want to meet and exchange cards and talk about what both, they're business owners too, so they're there to talk about what they have to offer, so they want to hear what you have to offer too, which is really great. Also, Wake Tech, they provide, they have a Wake Tech Small Business Center, Wake County Small Business Center, which provides classes that are at no charge to small business owners. That one of which I went to, it was called Marketing on a Shoestring. So the reason I went was because I thought, I'm interested to see what the speaker is talking about, in terms of marketing. I mean, this is just to go for the interest of it. And also, the room was full of small business owners that potentially might need to use my services to help them, because they're obviously there because they're trying to grow their business, which is what we're in business to do, right? So the speaker there that night, he actually, we ended up, does a lot of social media, and so I've been working with him some and learning more about that process. He's the one that recommended I look into being a constant contact solutions provider, which is a great way to really kind of get in there, learn more about, which I've used Constant Contact a good bit in previous positions, but as a solution provider, you can, you have an account, a free account, you can go in, learn about the tool, use, and then also soft sell it basically to clients, as long as it's something that they need. You don't want to sell anything to someone. It's some, I mean. So, but you get in the commission. I think I haven't sold one yet. So, but in the commission you get is pretty small. I mean, it's the point of it really is just to be a. I mean, you're a sort of, you have, what is it?
You get your name out, really.
Sort of, yeah. It's a great way. Yeah, it's a great way to sort of like another way to web yourself into sort of the whole process, so or the market. So, did I answer your question? Yeah, networking. So.
Yeah, that's just something I was worried about.
And also.
School, because I don't know anybody in the industry.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a worry for
Mm-hmm.
worry.
Right. Also, I mean, I've done the ceramics company that I'm doing work for. They actually, I just went door to door, which is like so old school. But I just thought, you know what? Today I'm going to go door to door. So I literally went down one side of Main Street in Fuquay and just went into every place. And there, the small business owner was there. I talked to one that I still need to reconnect with that needs someone to manage their Pinterest account. I've not done that before. I know that there's a science to it. So I've not, that's another thing you'll want to do is you want to say, yes, I can do that for you, to everybody. I want to, but you have to make sure you can actually fulfill that, So that's a piece you'll kind of figure out as you go along too. Yes?
I was wondering how you educate your clients, because a lot of these small business owners maybe need an introduction to social media.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't embraced it the way larger companies have.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So so a lot of my focus has been again in print. So I'm working into the social media piece of it. But what I've found actually that because of the fact the most pushback that you're going to get is that they don't want to spend the time to do it, which is great because you can do that for them, and so you can actually charge them. I think $50 a week for about 5 postings is kind of like what seems to be like the going rate. So, if you have 10 clients that you're doing Facebook postings for, but again, you have to, think about the content. You have to think about the fact that it has to be good content. Otherwise, their followers aren't going to be interested in following them. So, it's your responsibility to really come up with content that their followers are going to be interested in. So, one area that I think is a great place for social media is real estate, because you can, every time there's a new listing, whoop, Facebook. So that's a great way to, but there are other companies like ABC Sanitation, for example, I don't really know if they have a whole lot of followers other than people that want to know, well, there's a snow day, are they going to pick up my garbage? So, I mean, you know, that's a random, I mean, so my child's daycare, for example, I follow them on Facebook because anytime there's a closing. So there's the information type of companies that, you know, put out information through Facebook, and so that's a great reason to have a social media page, is so you can get all of your clients to connect, or all of your people that are involved with your business. A great way to disseminate information. So that's a good way. Coupons, of course, like there's a number of different stores that you might follow that provide coupons through Facebook. So that's a great way to explain to your client that it's good to have a Facebook account, because at this point, really, it's almost, I mean, everyone needs to have one, kind of. You know, I mean, you don't have to, depending on what your business is, but I would strongly recommend it, just because it's one of those things you can't really not have one because it's so popular. So depending on what the business is, again, but you know, those are some good points, is just to tell them ways that they can use it, and then the importance of having a presence there, because all of your competitors do, probably. So there's things like that. Does that answer your question? Okay. Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Thank you so much for taking the time out.
Of course.
Busy schedule. We have a little one.
Well, yeah. It's,
And those of us with kids, big and small kids, can tell you that, you know, your time is valuable.
oh,